It's definitely general election season in Singapore, and we're on day 2 of the campaign period. Now, if you're watching the Usual Place podcast for the first time, I'm Natasha, and for the next 8 days, I will be here live at noon talking to the people in the thick of the campaign. My first guests are from Team PAP. Welcome to the show, Valerie, Daniel and Dinesh. Hello, hi guys. So for some context for those who are watching, Valerie, you are standing in Pasir Ris-Changi GRC. Daniel, you're standing in Aljunied GRC. And Dinesh, you're running in East Coast GRC.
That's right.
So it was nomination day yesterday.
Yeah.
Big day. I can imagine it was a very massive day as since all 3 of you are running for the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what was the most unexpected thing about nomination day yesterday? Valerie?
Yeah, maybe I can start first. I guess, sorry, I've got a scratchy throat today.
No, it's all right. It's been a long...
Yeah, we've been talking to so many people. But yeah, so I think nomination day, right, before we were, this will be our first time candidates. Before this, it was just like a moment on TV that we watched, in the last few elections. But I think after, the one thing that really came out was really the electric response and the overwhelming response we got from our activists, our volunteers, and also the residents. So, right after nomination day, I won't talk about nomination day itself or that moment, but right after that, we hit the ground running, and we were out there. There were residents who were like, "Hey, we just saw you on TV," and we were like, "Yeah, we didn't eat lunch." So it was like 3+ when I went to the hawker center, and they were like, "Is this?" I was like, "Is this lunch or dinner?" They're like, "It's very late lunch because we were watching you guys on TV." And that's when I realized that, this whole GE, this nomination day is really not about us, not about the candidate, not about the party, but really about what the citizens of Singapore really feel about their future. And they're so sucked into it, they're so engrossed in it that they miss their lunch, and that's really I felt something that really popped out to me yesterday.
Daniel, did anyone call you Ed Sheeran?
Yeah, a few people did, but that's okay. I guess I did that to myself.
But what was the unexpected thing for you?
No, I nothing was unexpected because I think the 5 of us, my team, Hui, who's our lead, and Jega, Faisal, and Adrian, we've been preparing quite seriously for this moment. We know that it's a heavy responsibility. We've been sent here by the party, and we're quite focused on doing our job. So I think we tried to tune out what's happening around us, what's happening in other centers. Of course, this is our first time running, and so you do get a bit excited. You are in awe of the experience itself. I wouldn't lie I'd be lying if I said that, this all came quite naturally to me. But I think I was really lucky to have the support of my team. And similar to Valerie, I went for house visits yesterday as well, right after, and I was surprised how many people had worked from home yesterday. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we just saw you on TV as well." And I don't know. That's quite something I didn't expect.
Dinesh?
I was initially to be deployed in a different place, and there was a switch over to East Coast, as you could tell from the multiple adjustments that were taking place. And I thought that brought about the ability to be, flexible, and the strategy was pretty strong. And for me, the whole process was kind of new. It's not very familiar with the whole way in which it works, but the switches at the last minute, where I was eventually at East Coast, it wasn't a new place to me because I was introduced to East Coast in the first place. But we are switched around to different places to have a sense of how other constituencies are as well. But my moment was when DPM Gun arrived at the nomination center, and we were all taken aback because there were quite a couple of heavyweights there, and we were wondering what's going on. So it was only at the last minute that we knew that he was standing.
All right, so we'll get into each of your individual GRCs later in a bit. But for those of you who did not catch what happened, this was what they said yesterday on nomination day.
It is an honor to serve the vibrant community of Pasir Ris-Changi. We will work hard to support our youth and the families living here. Together, let's forge a brighter tomorrow for Pasir Ris-Changi and for Singapore.
我们都知道你们后来有一个很艰难的决定，但是我们这个团队有专业、有精神、有活力，能够更为你们帮助你们建成一个更好的家。
I have enjoyed East Coast, and my heart lies in East Coast. I will speak up for you, and I will give every ounce of my effort to help families and every one of our East Coast residents. Thank you very much.
So Dinesh, I watched the whole clip. You kind of looked like you had something else you wanted to say, and then the mic got muted. What was it you wanted to say that you're gonna?
I was supposed to have a couple of words in Tamil.
Oh.
Yeah, so that didn't quite happen because, the timing kind of ran out. Everyone stacked up, but it's okay. We got the main message across.
All right. So a lot of things, as you mentioned, happened for East Coast GRC yesterday. One of the first things was that up until yesterday, there was speculation that the WP might field some bigger names, but observers are saying that maybe this isn't that opposition party's strongest team. So when you heard who you're going up against, how did you feel about it, and what did your team make about this upcoming contest?
Well, I think in general, the East has always had a tough contest, regardless of who the opposition is. Usually it's WP, and whoever it is in the WP, they are credible candidates, and we don't take it, that it's an easy walkthrough. We do engage as many residents as we can, and every single vote counts. So to me, it was the fact that you have an opposition who's very familiar, who was rather successful in the last GE in that same area, and therefore it's not going to be an easy path over at East Coast. So we're going to do as much as we can to win every single vote.
Okay. I have to do a little bit of throwback because in 2020, the East Coast plan became one of the most talked about lines of the campaign.
Yes.
DPM Heng retired, right? So what is the vision for East Coast this time around, and how do you see your role in shaping it?
Well, I think there was a lot that was mentioned during the 2020 elections, and I think more importantly, much was done in the last 5 years in making East Coast a lot better than it was 5 years ago. And I think the plan moving forward really is to build on the successes that we have had, to build on DPM Heng's legacy, because he does leave rather large shoes to fill. And I hope to do whatever I can to bring us to the next level. If there was one area that I could be quite useful for, I kind of execute plans pretty well. So
just the military background, is it?
Plus COVID, plus everything else. But to me, there is a clear blueprint for East Coast, and the plan for every one of us is really to execute it to the way in which we planned it to be.
Actually, did DPM Heng say anything to the team before he left? Because, it was then when we found out that he was going to retire, right? So as he left, did he say anything to y'all? Because he's become the face of, the East Coast plan, as I mentioned. Yeah.
So I was very blessed that he spent the entire day with me. And he was speaking to me, walking the ground with me. Spent a lot of time explaining, down to the detail of who painted certain murals in East Coast, and how he was able to then galvanize the support of the residents of East Coast, bringing out the talent of the people who are there in order to be able to serve our residents. So that's the heart of the man. Actually, he wasn't feeling too well, but the fact that he was able to, really spend the time and walk with us, and he has already announced his retirement, and he will be with us for the next couple of days as well. I think that is the measure of the man.
Okay, so let's shift over to Aljunied GRC. Daniel, putting you in the hot seat now.
Sure.
So in the nomination day speeches, because that's what we're talking about today, your teammate, Ms Chan, who you said that this team has the 3 E's, right?
Yeah.
Do I need to test you? Let me tell you what it is. It's expertise, experience, and energy to lead the constituency. So what does this mean, especially when the PAP team is going up against an incumbent Workers' Party that has been there since 2011? So I think some would say, they also have the experience. Yeah. So explain to me what the 3 E's mean.
Look, this contest for us, it's not a competition between two political parties. Between the 5 of us in the team, Hui, Jega, Adrian, and Faisal, and myself, we have a combined 75 years of experience as community volunteers. So that is where our experience comes in. In terms of the expertise, we all come from very professional backgrounds, right? Myself and Adrian and Hui were from the built environment. And we're able to see how things can be improved. And I'm not just talking about the town council, but in other areas from other agencies. I think there's a lot of things that can be done to improve the enhancement, to improve the accessibility for our seniors there. It is a aging estate, and I think probably more can be done to make sure that spaces are more accessible. But in terms of, us contesting as parliamentarians, the other thing is, I think we bring very unique perspectives into what we hope would be Parliament. For myself, I think all of us have taken slightly different paths. All of us have experiences that kind of shape our belief on what Singapore should look like. It's quite diverse. Jega, for example, he's been a caregiver to both of his parents. That has been something that has influenced him a lot in terms of how he views, community care, public policy that supports people who are caregivers as well. She's a mom. That woman is a Wonder Woman, to be honest. A very underrated, I think, team lead, because she's does it all. She's the last one that texts us at night, the first one that checks out if we're okay in the morning. And she's really she's really the glue that holds all of us together. Adrian himself and Faisal, they all have their own ideas as well related to policy. So I think we bring in a perspective that's quite unique. We are all professionals. For myself, for example, I've traveled around the world. I help other governments with public policies related to livability. And I see across Singapore as much more events than most of the countries I go to. But we have a very unique perspective, a very unique value proposition. And we don't see this as a popularity contest. We think that we have a lot to offer to bring Aljunied, to greater heights, but also to help Singaporeans as we move forward in a new chapter of nation building.
Right. So as Dinesh said, there was a lot of movement yesterday. People were swapped out here and there.
Yeah.
And a lot of heavyweight ministers. All ministers like DPM Gan Kim Yong and Manpower Minister Tan Si Ling were moved out of their GRC to anchor others, right? So what should Aljunied voters make of no heavyweight ministers or no long-time PAP members being fielded in their GRC?
Oh, there are long-time PAP members. I've been in the party.
As in more the ones who are...
who have been parliamentarians. Yeah, look, I don't think that is something to be concerned about because, like I said before, we do have the lived experience of working in public policy, the lived experience on how we can be township managers. The fact that there is no heavyweight minister on the ground actually means that in the last... the PAP has never left, by the way, Aljunied. And the fact that, we haven't had someone come in, I mean, it makes sense as well, right? Because you can't have a minister come in very, very early on in the election cycle, learn the ground. They just don't have the time. But the fact that we have been able to sustain the ground, it's because we have had long-term volunteers who have experience on the ground now. And that has helped us been able to make better connections. So we have the data, we have the information, we know what the challenges are. And I think that puts the party in a better position to actually speak to the voters themselves.
Actually, you're coming in from Nisun GRC,
Correct.
and you've been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
How long were you in Aljunied GRC before you were fielded, or what would you tell voters who may not be familiar with you yet?
Yeah, look, I understand, and that is something that I wish I could have changed. I came in February, so yeah, honestly, not too long ago. But and I will be frank, the ground in Aljunied is different from what it is in Nisun. Not because of politics, but because of the cultural heritage, because of what the community is like. So I've been spending as much time as I can getting to know what the bonds are made of really in Aljunied. You have the Teochews who came there, and are really kind of entrenched in that part of Singapore. There are a lot of young families because we have some BTOs and private estates. So it is very different. But at the same time, because I bring in a lot of experience, navigating the channels on how we can reach out to residents, navigating the channels to understand, how can we address problems? I think these are quite similar. And I also have a big team around me that knows the ground very, very well. And they're very, very helpful, useful, telling me, this is what's happened before, this is the historical context. It's easy for me to then go and call and coordinate. So I understand there's anxiety about this, but I think from the residents' perspective, the fact that I bring in so much ground experience is still a plus.
All right. So, Valerie,
Yes.
Let me take the spotlight off Daniel for a bit. Valerie, you're in the newly created Pasir Ris-Changi GRC,
Yes.
right? So compared to Dinesh and Daniel, some would say that you're in a relatively safer constituency because based on how previous elections have gone, some netizens have commented online. Okay, this is really not me, okay? Is that they have said you're riding on the coattails of more established PAP members because Ms Indrani is there, SMS Desmond Tan is there. How are you planning to stand out on the campaign trail and to make yourself, known to voters?
So, firstly, I think there's no easy ward. Otherwise we will be taking the voters for granted. So, for every vote, we will be fighting for it, and we will have to convince every resident to trust us. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, yes, I've seen those comments actually, and. Essentially, I think for myself, what really stood out for the Pasir Ris-Changi team is that we work as a team. Yeah. So Minister Indrani rightly put, she's in 3 ministries. She's definitely have a wealth of experience. So she's our anchor minister now. And then we have Desmond Tan. And Desmond Tan is an N2C. He's a unionist. So from a careers perspective and jobs, he's well balanced from that point of view. Sharil is advocate for the MM community. Myself, I come from the private sector. And in fact, honestly, I have been on the ground in Singapore for 8 years. So, someone just told me, I say, hey, weren't you in West Coast? I was like, yeah, I kind of volunteered all the way from west to the east, So, and everyone's been asking me, so how has it been for you? Has it been very challenging for you? How's your schedule like? And my reply to them is actually we have been on the ground. As a volunteer, as a community volunteer. Of course, previously I was shadowing MPs like Mr. Patrick Tay or Ms. Fumi Ha. But honestly, this is what we have been doing day in and day out. From what I can bring is really my private sector perspectives, my perspective from as being a young mom, as a working mom, and also a sandwich generation. I have aging parents, both sides, and a young daughter to take care of. So those are the things that I hope to actually bring in to Pasir Ris-Changi. Because I realized it's a very unique community. When we were walking around the entire neighbourhood, we realized that there were a lot of multi-generational families. They don't necessarily stay in the same house. They just stay nearby each other because they find it so comfortable and so unique. And, it's just they like to say it's another world. It's like, it's a very unique place in Singapore to stay in, right? So a lot of them will be at a house, and then there'll be 5 sisters that suddenly turn out and say, oh yeah, we meet here every Sunday for a gathering. I stay three houses down, I stay in the next. So it's a very, very interesting and I think a unique ecosystem of residents and businesses, neighborhoods that we have there that I really hope to work upon and kind of like enhance and energize the entire place, because there's so much things that we can there's so much synergies that can be formed when Pasir Ris and Changi kind of merge in this election.
Since you mentioned the online comments, how are you dealing with it, or have you gotten advice about dealing with it? I don't know, maybe this is a question for all 3 of you.
Can I be very honest with you?
Yeah, of course. This is the honesty couch.
So, when I was first put in the spotlight, when the first few articles came out about me, I did went into the, and just read everything. I was like, oh my goodness.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, but I think it's just a necessary, initiation, right, to this whole, public figure thing that started. But after that, I had no time to read it at all.
Yeah.
And to be very honest with you, Natasha, that clip that you just put it out, that's the first time I've watched it. Is it the first time?
For me it is.
Yeah. So I'm embarrassed to say this, but I did not even have time to go in. So I just get texts from my friends, like, hey Val, hey, great speech, hey, smile more. And that's all I get out of there. I didn't. So I was like, oh, did I? Okay, I said those stuff yesterday. So thanks for letting us, have this half an hour break, right? To really recap what happened yesterday.
Yeah, what about the 2 of you? What have people been telling you?
Yeah, indeed. And I must say that I think all of us, the moment nominations were over, we kind of hit the ground running, and we've been visiting markets, going to houses and so on. So didn't quite get a chance to look at the comments. In fact, I think my phone kind of exploded yesterday with many comments from the various chat groups I'm in, and people, genuinely telling you thanks and for stepping up and stuff like that. I think for me personally, when I was first introduced, it was kind of a media leak. I've not even submitted my resignation at that point in time, and they were anticipating my resignation. I was wondering, I mean, I was wondering why people were so excited to see me leave. But that notwithstanding, we had two very extreme comments, some that were very positive and some that were quite negative.
Right.
So again, it was a whole day of multiple messages and, trying to figure out what's going on. Because I had an agency to run at that point in time, and people were asking me, including my people who are in the sector, are you really leaving? When are you leaving? And so on. And I haven't submitted my resignation yet at that point in time. But when I went back home, my daughter, who's 12 and in secondary 1, she kind of collated all the negative comments and went through one by one.
Direct feedback
Very
in your
fierce, eh?
house.
Yeah, so it was
Dinesh,
more like
my
fun,
daughter's
right,
2, so she can't do that yet.
You're safe,
I need
Valerie,
someone to
you're
help
safe.
me. Yeah.
But eventually it was all a good laugh, and but I could tell that she was kind of somewhat affected by it, and I told her, don't worry about it too much, because people will, they may not know you, and sometimes they may say certain things based on what they know. That's their choice.
And sorry if I
go on.
might add, right, when
Yeah.
you say that the family members getting affected. In fact, I would say that for me, I'm just very focused on comments that will add value to the community. So I do ask my volunteers and my friends, say, if you spot anything that makes sense for me to improve on, to really value add the community, let me know. If not, I honestly am going to ignore most of it, right? But what I really relate to what Dinesh said just now, it's not actually yourself, like you affect the family members. This negative comments affect people around you, and that's the part that probably is a bit upsetting for us. But if not, we're, for us personally, I'm sure all three of us, we're just really focused on, okay, if these comments make sense, we can help improve the neighbourhood, we can help improve the lives of the people we're helping. Let's take it on. It's a fair comment, it's a good feedback. Let's just use it constructively.
Daniel?
I mean, very, very similar to them both. I think there have been some hilarious comments. I really think
beyond Ed Sheeran, is it?
Yeah, no, way beyond that. No, I think there have been some amazing memes, and I really do appreciate all of them. There have been someone called me a Timo Donald Trump. I thought that was hilarious. Anything Timo something, I thought was so funny. So there have been really great comments. But yeah, I definitely agree with the two of them that I think it has. I don't think it has taken a direct toll, but definitely your family is looking, your family is watching. They kind of feel upset for you or even my volunteers. Actually, for me, my priority is the volunteers who are with me during this campaign and beyond, making sure that they kind of come out of this unscathed. Even the last couple of weeks, you've seen some negativity around volunteers from both or from all political parties and I think the appeal that I kind of want to make is that we have stepped up, the three of us, and I'm happy to take on that burden. And if you're not happy with me or not happy with the government, I'm okay, because when I stepped up, that's the point, and I'm prepared for it. But my volunteers, they've taken time off work. This is not their full-time job. The last thing they deserve is to be exposed or to be doxxed. I think we're all human. Sometimes our faces look a bit grumpier than usual, or we're pointing a finger in an awkward way. But, in this political campaign, I think we focus on the candidates and the issues.
So, Valerie, there was something very specific that I wanted to ask you, because at the recent press conference announcing the Pasir Ris-Changi GRC slate, you shared a very personal story about becoming a mother and your journey to that, because you had a miscarriage, two miscarriages. To me, that's an incredibly personal thing to say very publicly, right? Do you think vulnerability and personal stories have a place in politics, especially if you're trying to connect with voters?
I wouldn't say that vulnerability, this whole personal story of the miscarriages and the journey to motherhood. My end goal was honestly to tell the nation on that platform that, we know that starting families can be hard. That was my end goal. And it just, from a personal experience, I had that 2 miscarriages. And from my personal experience also from talking to, and I openly share it with my friends before I share on national TV, So my colleagues and my friends, they all knew about what happened to me, and I shared it quite openly. And what I realized from that is that the more I shared, the faster I healed from the grief and the pain at the point in time. And the more I shared, the more people came up to me and shared their own personal stories of miscarriages, or sometimes on infertility, or the struggles of starting a family. And it can be a whole range of issues. It doesn't have to be that. And I realized that when I voice this out and expose my vulnerability, it helps others. And that really was my end goal, to let everyone know that, hey, it's okay to talk about it. It's not a taboo subject, especially for females, right? When you have miscarriages, most of the time they'll say like, maybe it's something to do with the female. There's all this stigma around. And I just want to let them know, no, that's not the case. Please talk about it. Please always share your personal struggles. Share it as best as you can. Share it as comfortably as you can. And people will come up to you and realize they're not alone.
Yeah.
So again, the next thing I want to point out is that it's not going to be a lonely journey. Any personal struggles that you're facing, please don't let it affect your mental health. You'll be surprised just talking to that one person, talking to the 5 people around you, their colleagues or friends, would help you kind of alleviate that personal struggle and pain that you go through. And after that, I realized that I have male friends coming up to me and sharing their wife's journey and just 2 weeks ago, I just met a friend I haven't met in 10 years. And he said, hey, I know about the struggle you went through. My wife had like 8 IVFs and to finally have a child. And then I realized it's such a powerful thing, right? That you think there's the females that will come up to me, but actually my male friends are also coming up to me and opening their personal stories about this, and then we share about how we can help each other and things. So yeah, I thought that was really my main goal, to let everyone know that it's okay to talk about it and it's not going to be a lonely journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Daniel, do you want to say something about that?
No, I agree. I think I have, as someone who has obviously looks quite different, right, and than the rest of the candidates here, it can feel a bit lonely when you have the anxiety and the frustration that maybe other people don't feel, or you don't believe other people can relate to. And I think it's important, as we move on beyond S360, that politicians and politics, we have a message that it's okay to not be okay. I think on the policy front, things have been done a lot over the last 1 or 2 terms, improving mental health, checking for or addressing early childhood, like development issues, things like that. But it still is going to take a bit more of a narrative from voices like Dinesh and Valerie to make people feel a bit more comfortable with sharing a bit more of who they are. I just want to say, very brave.
Thank you. And sorry, last point. Don't feel defeated. Yeah. So that's my point, right? Like I had 2 miscarriages, and now I have a 2-year-old. I feature her a lot on my social media. Backview, but she's like, don't give up on this whole like family planning thing. I gave birth at like 37, so one of those later. Wow. Yeah. So national duty, national agenda.
加油.
Yeah.
Dinesh, I want to let you have a word about vulnerability in politics.
I just felt that, firstly, I was dealing with, as a policy implementer, quite a bit on mental health in my last role. So we did do community mental health and so on. But to me, it's lived experiences and the stories that we see, the incredible grit, the ability to bounce back. And, it's not easy, for sure. Sometimes you're not dealt with the best cards. Sometimes you go through a bit of personal struggle. But to me, it's about the ability to then get past all of that and excel, not individually alone. And I think that's the power of the stories that was just shared. It's as a collective whole. Yeah. And I think that brings us to a very different level. Yeah.
Right. Can I pose a question to Dinesh? So Dinesh, when a woman gives birth, from a mental health perspective, because you shared that you were in charge of that, right? There's all these checks on postnatal depression. Is there one for a lady who undergoes miscarriages?
So I must say, from what I have seen, because to be honest, the mental health that we deal with are for the children and adults and seniors. But I do not think there's sufficient efforts, in dealing with the mental stress that happens after a miscarriage.
I think that's something that
is a gap, and I think there are some areas. There could be in selective areas something that might be there, or if you kind of like highlight, and I'm sure there's some support that's available, but it may not be very readily seen. So I think that's one area that should be focused.
First thing that we could do. Okay,
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Sorry, we used the timing on the show.
It's all right. So I know you guys have to get back to the campaign trail.
Yeah.
But before I do that, I have a fun thing that I want to do. I have a bunch of get to know you questions here.
All right.
Valerie, since you're the
Okay.
closest, can you pick
Sure.
one and then hand
And pass
it
it
to
down?
me? No, just
Oh,
pick
no,
one and
okay.
then then pass me the question.
Are we asking you?
No, all three of you have to answer the
asking-
same
Yeah.
question. I'm out of this. I'm the
This was
host.
not
All right,
the
all
memo,
right.
Natasha, as we said.
I'm sure the audience wants to know more about you, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think they want to know more about you guys because you're out and about. Okay, I like this question.
Okay.
If you could implement one fun law in Singapore for just one day, what would it be?
One fun law.
Is that to
To all three of you, same question. I feel like
I'm sorry I picked such a tough question.
okay, no repicks allowed, but I feel like Daniel has a fun law in mind.
Oh, no,
your face is like, ooh. Yes, but anyone can go first. Whoever has the first answer.
Yeah, this might, make Dinesh a bit concerned if I say this. But
Is it going to be at East Coast? No.
no.
You keep it to Aljunied.
I think once a year, we should remove all the drink labelings. Just one day a year, right?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't
Sorry.
know where this is heading to.
All right, Valerie, what's yours?
No meetings for one day. Law, yes,
Wow.
No meetings.
No meetings for one day at work. Yeah.
I think that can be implemented.
Yeah.
PM Wong, if you're listening, no meetings for one
Yeah.
day.
Is anyone listening? Yeah.
Okay,
I
Dinesh,
hope my
what's
boss
your,
is not listening to me. I'm sorry, boss. Yeah.
Dinesh, what's your fun law?
I think they have, or rather, I've shared quite recently that I'm a heavy metal fan. So I do believe that we should have a lot more concerts in the streets and lesser restrictions and let people do what they need to do. I think I'll get some comments from the Home Affairs side after this, but it might be useful to once in a while let your hair down.
And I'll get comments from MOM. Sorry,
Yeah, but
yes.
you want to enjoy and you want to sometimes lift some of the restrictions that are available and let people truly enjoy themselves. And I think Singaporeans will know where the balance is struck, so it's not too much of a problem.
I think that was a shocking fun fact I learned about you, that you were a heavy... I was like, wait, what? The image
It doesn't
doesn't
look
match
like
with
it,
the...
is it?
No,
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
it doesn't.
So to give you an idea, I was just listening to Marilyn Manson, who has a new song by Phil Collins previously. So if you had heard the Phil Collins version and you hear the Marilyn Manson version of it, it's like, whoa. Yeah, you're so good. You got to go and check it out.
I was surprised that he still has CDs.
He's outing his age. But it's all right. Everything old school is good, okay? So thank you, all three of you, for
Thank you.
being here.
Thank you,
I will
Natasha.
let you get back to the campaign trail for now. This was your rest break.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very
thank you. Thank you. Had fun.
Yeah.
So tomorrow's a new day. And with how elections go, things move very fast. And more candidates will be dropping by the usual place. Now, I won't give away which party will be on tomorrow, but here's a clue. Look out for a splash of blue. Now, I'll see you tomorrow at the usual place at noon, live right here on the Straits Times podcast channel. See you!